Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burnettwork. Welcome to Positive Fandom. I am your host, Mmmm, and we have with us tonight Julian. Julian, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I got my Manhattan here, courtesy of my wife, and ready to watch this final episode of season 4 of For All Mankind.
Yes, guys, we are doing the final episode, the finale for season 4 of For All Mankind. And Julian, I am so excited for this episode. We have been waiting so long for this. I didn't know what time it was going to come on, and we've been watching and turning on Apple TV all day long to see when it's announced. And it is on live, guys. So those of you who are watching along with us, we are doing a live watch party of season 4 of For All Mankind, guys. The finale, episode 10. Julian, we have so many expectations. I cannot wait for this, guys. We're going to start right at the beginning of the episode where it says Apple TV Plus. You're going to see an apple. It's going to say TV and then a plus sign, and it's going to glow. And skip any kind of like additional trailers or coming attractions for other shows, and go right to the show. The beginning of the show. Julian and I are here. We have our counter right down there at 0. We're gonna say 3, 2, 1, and then just say go ahead and press play, because we are starting. Like I said, you're gonna see a symbol that looks like an Apple TV. It's gonna look like that. It'll say Apple TV Plus. Can we see it on
And
here?
it's straight into the recap.
Yeah, straight into the recap, I guess. You can't see it because I have a blur setting on my on here, so it's blurring that. But we're going to go straight into the recap. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Hi, we are doing this live For All Mankind. I have the wrong banner on the back of the it says
Episode 9.
So let me just change that while I have a second, because I do have 10, and I
apologize.
Yay! Guys, this is the For All Mankind season 4, episode 10, season 4 finale. We are so excited. Julie and I are so excited. Start where you see the Apple TV Plus thing. Go past any trailers and go directly to the episode. That's where Julie and I are. For me, it says 5 seconds. For Julian, it says 43. But just so you know where we are, we
47. Start of the recap.
Yes, start at the recap. Julian, let's go ahead and press play right now.
That guy was just a little too tenacious.
Yes.
For his own good.
Yes. That is
Justice for Sergey.
Oh, 102. Two months ago?
So Kelly, this is Kelly doing her trip, I guess.
I'm behind you. Oh yeah, I see a yeah. This is awesome.
Oh, what's this?
Wait, isn't that the pipe that has the body? The other Korean gentleman? You remember? You know who put that in?
Yeah, it might be. I can't remember for sure.
I thought that's where they put the marker. Or is that Danny's body? Is that Danny's body? Is it the Korean guy's body?
No, this is too flat. So
well, they storms on Mars.
Yeah, but the Korean capsule's nowhere nearby. It's Korean's Makarov.
Oh my god. Oh, is this one of the agents on out there?
Tuttle? I can't remember the name of the CIA guy.
Maybe he's not an agent, but I can't remember who he is. So
I
they don't.
usually just skip the titles.
It's Perestroika, right?
What's that?
Um, are you? I'm not skipping the intro just to keep it on.
I'm not. I just said I usually do.
Yeah. Um, it. I have to ask this question because I don't know for sure. Do they have weapons at Happy Valley at all?
I don't know.
Hmm.
We know they have at least one.
And Julian, what is the count that you're up to right now?
527.
Okay, so let me go further.
It's shit. It just ended the titles.
Okay.
Am I catching stuff just a little bit before you?
Yeah, and I got
Uh,
to the point where you were at because I wanted to be at the same point.
You're out of touch, my baby.
The Rolling Stones, right?
Baby, baby. Yeah, baby, you're out of time. Time.
Oh my god, this is so exciting. He doesn't trust he doesn't trust Sam.
Of course not.
I got to give them an A++ for these screens that look amazing.
Mm-hmm. I bet the Yakutas were involved with that. Hardcore. I wonder if Dev even knows what is going on down below with the Korean commander.
I doubt he knows that that someone was killed on the base. I think he doesn't know.
Now, we don't know if he's dead yet.
Does he know that one of the Koreans wants their wives to come on board?
I do not know. I see he's still alive.
I'm so glad he's alive. They could ask the doctor to sedate him. I know it's unethical, but they've already gone down that road. Oh, he spoke to him in Korean. Is he gonna snap because they've like asked him for favor after favor and his wife still isn't there?
This is almost like waterboarding.
Yeah. And it's unnecessary. Oh my god. But couldn't he just pass out and go to sleep?
Guess it depends on how much of a team player Miles is. Nice.
Damn. Who's this guy?
Administrative flunky.
What's going on? She's being what's
Well, they're going to tell him that they found Sergei dead, I'm sure. Uh-oh. There's a reason for her to be here.
Why is she there?
Because of Sergei. She knows how close.
This is very difficult.
Yeah.
And it's also putting Elena in harm's way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Mm. You know, I thought earlier when they were talking about the CIA and KGB guy that I thought there was mention about weapons that were kinetic weapons but would not penetrate the hull of the station. Does that
I don't
sound
remember.
familiar?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
That might come in handy later.
Yeah.
Poor Alita. Oh my god. Poor Alita. No, Alita, no.
Oh, they've probably cleaned the place up. Don't go in there. Gee, I wonder what she's saying.
That should have been like a security issue, but I guess she can't report it. It's not water. What do they got pictures of his family now since he said that the family was the thing he wanted to see?
How about a link?
He looks bad.
I don't know.
He doesn't know enough to say, "I wanna see Danny," like the commander or anything like that. You wouldn't do that. You would ask to speak to who is in charge.
Uh, no, they found his lever.
Close the door.
It's going from bad to worse.
They better not kill Danielle.
You think Dev's got another backup station? Uh-oh.
I love it. It's like they're in the Korean embassy.
Yeah.
I still I still think that she messed up the machines when she put that water in there, like I said before.
Hmm.
Is she going to tell her the truth, or is she going to say he left? Or
I think she's going to tell her the truth.
and that's why Irina is there. Surely she must have figured this out, right, Julian?
Well, she must have. She should have. She should have realized it was because of Sergey.
She cannot go with Irina. What will she do? She cannot go with Irina.
Unless she continues to be useful, Irina does not need her.
Should she mess up the calculations?
Yeah. What if they decide we're going to park it in Mars orbit? Just as a big fuck you.
Do they know about the sabotage thing? Do Alita
No,
and
they have no idea. No way.
I don't believe
I
it.
love how Alita almost reached out to her.
Hmm.
God, she's cold.
So what do you think what do you think Dev IS's backup plan is, Julian?
I, I have no freaking idea. Either he already anticipated that they were going to find it,
Because he sure was calm about
or
it.
Margot is going to do something to screw everything up and achieve the
He
same
was
result.
he was really calm when they found out about downstairs. Too calm.
I wouldn't get too excited. You got 20 minutes.
A lot can go wrong in 20 minutes.
Yep. No. Okay, he doesn't have it.
How hmm.
Hmm.
Well, it's an enormous ship. It's an enormous ship. So I guess she could do she could go outside, but
Uh-oh.
She is so close to the engine. And we saw in what is it, season 3, Danny turned off one of the engines outside, right, Julian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She is really close to that engine.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, but if she does this, is the ship going to go faster?
No, it won't go faster. They just won't be able to stop the burn. Fuck. Jesus, Ed.
It's a dick comment. Yeah, but shouldn't they have gone out as soon as they saw her outside? Like, shouldn't they have gone outside then?
Yeah, maybe.
About halfway through, I think, the episode. Whew.
Danielle, it's like, shouldn't you be wondering where the hell is Ed?
She knows he's in now that it's this situation, she understands what's going on now. Can she cut off power to the Korean pod area?
Well, possibly. I don't know.
He's very like, I don't even know how to say it. Like, he's very chummy with Arena. It's like uncomfortable. What do you think, Julian?
he he's he's just trying to do his job. And part of that job means that the US and the Soviets work together. Uh-oh.
So who's
All
gonna
right.
not make it? Her,
I,
Palmer, or both?
I want Palmer to die. I don't want Samantha to die. I don't want her to become a martyr.
Oh my gosh, I don't believe it. I am loving these exterior shots of this,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it looks really cool.
Two minutes. Th-
I'd never be able to put in code that fast.
I know.
I just hope he doesn't look over onto her screen. She finished before him, right?
I think so. But when it doesn't work, they're going to go through that code, figure
They
out why
are.
it didn't work.
They will. Go, Sam! Go, Sam!
I want her to beat him, and then she'll take his tether.
Go, Sam!
Uh-oh. Oh, shit. Oh! Come on, Sam. Take his tether. Take his tether.
Go, Sam! Come on, Sam!
Take his tether. Oh, nice.
That is dramatic as I don't know what.
Hmm.
No. Yeah, but I still don't like how she accused her like that. I don't like it.
Well, you know that Arena knows that she's been involved. You know that they've been in contact outside of mission control. So
Why can't they just blame Arena? Say it was Arena's fault, right?
how would it be?
I mean, as a person who's in charge, she couldn't control her own person. But Arena won't be get in trouble. But from her country's point of view, would Arena be in trouble?
I don't
Because
know.
I don't think they care about Margot. They don't care about Margot. But Arena, they do. What is
No,
going
Arena's
on?
position is contingent on her producing the needed results for the regime. She just failed.
Please don't let Danny die over this. Good. She needs to do something.
She could maybe lock the elevators.
What they're doing is not necessary. It's not like they can run off somewhere.
Ha ha!
Those are explosives. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Oh, I knew it. He's gonna pull that gun out.
And who's going to get the bullet? Won't that depressurize the station?
Well, it could. Therefore,
Oh, they're
levels down.
underground.
But if it goes in the wrong spot, it could cause something bad.
They better
Just-
not have hurt Danielle. That's all I'm going to say. Cuz if they do what I think they were going to do, god damn it.
Oh, that's a serious shot.
Really? So they're not going to bring her back to Russia?
Well, depends on how much she wants revenge. I mean, she goes to jail, which they may feel that that's enough punishment, or else if if Irina's vindictive enough, they put somebody in there to take her out while she's in jail. Because where's she gonna go?
Well, I guess that is one way to keep her in the US.
And in the meantime, it's going to be hard for Irina to find anybody in Soviet Union who can replace her.
Yeah, she's irreplaceable.
Huh.
See, I was saying she's going to return to Russia and she's going to be the person who failed.
And they're also not happy with her.
They didn't like her in the first place, right?
No. I bet there's somebody waiting for her in an office.
That's what I was thinking.
You've been replaced, Irina.
I'm sure she has been. Because she should have never let Margot have so much control.
Oh, man.
Is it his wife?
That would be crazy.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Wow.
Thank you, God! Yes! Oh, oh my goodness gracious. Oh, goodness.
Colonists.
Oh my God. Oh, thank God. Thank you, God. Yes. Danielle, I love you. Oh, oh thank God. Ah. Aw. Oh my god. Ugh. What is he looking at? Is it a satellite or something? What was that? Is that the asteroid?
That's what I would think so. I'm just watching on my iPad, so it's difficult to see.
Well, it was tiny. It was tiny.
Yeah, and my screen's even tinier.
He moved. He's right outside of Kelly's crater.
Yeah.
Ah, it's a space station on the asteroid, or something like that. Kuznetsov Station. Kuznetsov
Yeah.
Station. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't stop saying, oh my goodness.
That was
Um,
awesome.
it was incredible. I am speechless. Um, yeah, it was a wonderful episode. And guys, I didn't pay attention to what was in the chat, obviously,
I didn't
because
either.
yeah, we just couldn't do that. Um, and Julian, I'm speechless. I'm just speechless by all of this. Julian, I have no words.
It was a good episode.
Wasn't it fantastic? This was
Yeah.
exactly the type of excellence that we've been hoping for and have been expecting and have been getting from the writers, the production, everything in it was it's flawless, Julian. I can't, I mean, there are literally stars in my eyes from the level of excitement, the level of production quality that never seems to get bad. Danielle was safe. The wife came, Julian, she's there.
I know.
I'm so I mean, talking about a payoff. And Julian, were you shocked when you saw it wasn't just her? They brought settlers.
That
Um,
was very surprising.
and it looked like it just was wonderful. I just want to, and as I'm talking, there's so much to say. Julian, I can't even speak. Hello to Daniel Barry's sports highlights. Also to Bruce Lamb. Hey, Bruce Lamb. Sure hope you are well. John Cipolla is here. And Bruce Lum again. Bruce, thank you for your comments and chiming in. Bronzo Kilborn, Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington is here as well. Tom Jr. Jackson. Sure hope you were watching the episode along with us. Tom Jr. Jackson, moderator, collaborator, and good friend. I am completely speechless, everybody, over what I consider to be one of the best episodes I've seen. Darth Plato is also here. I don't even know where to begin. Uh, Goodness gracious, Julian. I can't, I don't even have words for this. Yeah. Um, No, they didn't show how. Yes, I am speechless. I am literally speechless. I have no words for the amount of joy and excitement that I felt through this episode. I felt like Julian, I felt like we were engineers going along the ride with them. Did you feel that way, Julian, in this episode?
Well, I wouldn't put myself so far as a engineer, no. but yeah, it kept us going along at just the right pace. That's for sure. It just as soon as we needed to find out things, it kind of came through with the answers, so that they really kept the tension going well.
It really is spectacular, and I am just excited, I'm elated, I'm overjoyed. I have all these different feelings and emotions, and I was really scared for Danielle, at least for a while, because of what she was walking into, what she was stepping into. She was stepping into this um base that was not happy. The unhappy valley is what Danielle was stepping into, with so many things going on, with, Ed at a crossroads where he wasn't happy. Kelly wasn't happy. There were so many people who were just and the first thing that Danielle said when she came onto that base was, Ed, can't you feel the tension here? Can't you feel how things are going on in this base? That people are despondent, they're unhappy. And we got to see Miles, who had all this excitement, all this joy and expectation in the world, just arrive there and have all his dreams shattered, and realizing that even he has to do this workaround. And poor Margot, when it seemed like she was never, ever going to be able to leave this captivity, this captivity that she unfortunately has found herself in. We see that she not only was able to bring herself to the forefront. I mean, technically speaking, I could say that she finagled Irenia, because Irenia was not a very smart lady. She could finagle her and tell her, look, I do have to come out in the front and let people know that I still exist. She was keeping Margot in this box, but Margot just slowly but surely, step by step, moment by moment, whatever she did, each step got her more into the news, more into the forefront, more to the public, so that you couldn't deny that she was an essential force in making any project, especially something with this technical level of difficulty, work. And honestly, I think it is very interesting how at the end we see they withdrew that diplomatic immunity. I'm sure that was not Irania's doing. Irania thought she was taking Margot home, and to see all of this stuff really kind of just completely changed around. I think honestly, Julian, we saw something that was really magical, in a way, and I guess maybe there would be tensions. It wasn't going to be a smooth thing that was happening. And I got to give credit to Sam for not only putting that, like I said, that a banana in the engine trick, but then having to do the EVA. Julian, tell me some of your thoughts right now. Just let me know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, please, because I've been talking a lot and I want to hear what you think.
Wow, they didn't pull any maneuvers where something happened to somebody that we didn't want anything to happen to. Mostly, I think Irina. There's the possibility that she actually thought that, because it's possible that she was the one who immediately withdrew that diplomatic immunity, thinking that that would be the consequences to Margot. That Margot didn't want to go to jail, or prison, and that she'd have to deal with that. And yet Margot was in a place where she's like, "Do your worst, I don't care." So, yes, it's possible that it wasn't Irina. Perhaps Irina had other plans for retribution for Margot once they got back home. Perhaps, the Presidium decided that, nope, we don't need her, so U.S. can do whatever you want. And that could also be kind of a punishment to Irina, first level punishment of, you screwed up. You failed. The Goldilocks is not coming to Earth. That could have serious repercussions for that regime in the Soviet Union. So he's like, yeah, we don't need her. So They probably removed it. It's possible they removed it as a punishment to her, knowing that she wanted to bring Margot back home and punish her herself. And they're like, no, we got plans for you. So um, that was cool. It was very. We kept on hearing about when is my wife. When are you going to bring my wife? And they're like, oh, it's very difficult. No, I don't know if we can do that. So that was a very, very big surprise at the end, and it's almost too good. It's like we didn't even deal with how that was possible, that they managed to smuggle a whole bunch of people in space to another planet. I'm like,
Well, I'd like
whoa.
to believe that Dev got wind of it. This is just me. I'd like to believe that Dev got wind of it and he said, "Oh, that's perfect for us to continue living out here for people who are in a bad way. We can get them up here." As I have Eric Cusine. Hey, Eric Cusine, as says they were not so much settlers, but smuggled refugees. And I
Yeah,
think what's really interesting about this is that it did feel so good to see, his wife suddenly get there, and she's he said he felt like Mars was his home.
yeah,
And
I
with
love
Mars,
that.
it was beautiful. And in the sense of how do you start a colony in a place? Well, they want to be in a place where they can live their lives and be happy. And I have a feeling they're going to be very happy on Mars. And seeing Deb right near Kelly's crater like that gave me a sense of it. I thought it was just going to be one or two people living there. It was much more than that. The future's so bright for Mars right now. And Depp is smiling because he realizes that when he sees ships coming into the atmosphere or looking up at that asteroid, which is now in Mars orbit, that it's going to be such a bright future, maybe the next 100 years on Mars. And Dev can continue to do his work and come up with new innovations and new ideas. Those guys who were decided to back Deb coming out of the strike have found themselves in a very interesting situation. Maybe life is brighter on Mars. What do you think, Julian? Is life going to be brighter in this new place where they can start from the ground up and just build a new place? Was Danielle being there? Did she have an influence over, let's say, even increasing the morale to a more positive, sentiment, and maybe even putting things into perspective for everyone? Because I think her actions and her words certainly set an incredible example, even in the toughest of times, Julian.
Yes, it's certainly, her being there, trying to improve the morale in positive ways as well as she could. I'm That rubbed off on everybody there, despite the labor issues and all that kind of it obviously showed once there was danger to her life. Everybody there, all parties involved on the base were like concerned because there's not that many people there. Everybody. For the most part, everybody there, and so it's like somebody down the block, getting injured, and when we used to know all our neighbors. Um, Maybe that's kind of the problem with a lot of places. We don't know our neighbors anymore. Um,
Yeah, and that is such a good point, Julian, because I think when we saw in certain times, in not just in this episode, but even this season, where we noticed this division of camaraderie, and perhaps even this division of humanity aboard the station, aboard Happy Valley, where people, that first episode where Danielle comes on board and she's walking through the station, and it's a mirror image with Miles and his experience. And it was almost as if they might have been in two different planets, not on the same planet. I think even that existing, I think maybe Ed had kind of given up he'd kind of given up on his future in addition to staying away from his past. And he didn't want to tell anybody that, he just kind of wasn't interested in, he's just going through the motions at this point. And as far as he's concerned, he doesn't want anyone to bother him. It's interesting that that happened. And I think maybe Kelly being there and Dev being there, and Danielle and his grandson Alex snapped him out of it. I think this entire experience snapped him out of it because he was not in a good way. He was pretty much dogging everybody. He was even dogging the workers who were so faithful to him, saying that they're not qualified. Who are these people? What do you think about that change of heart he had where he read, that document, which is responsibility as working for Helios, and then decided to give it to the workers? What did you think overall? Do you think that that was part of him changing, or did you think it was more of a selfish act?
I I felt like his issue when he was helping during the strike and encouraging the strike still felt a little bit self-serving. I don't think it was until Dev showed up with a plan and said, we can stay here if we do this, is when he finally, had some hope again. I think, was it Grigori, when he died at the very, beginning of the season, that really kind of, threw him for a loop after that. And the only, thing that was keeping him was getting stoned and and then when he started getting close to that other gal, and then she was sent home. Yeah, he was kind of despondent, and yeah, I don't even think Kelly and his grandson shown up. I don't think that they were even getting through until Dev kind of like put that plan into his head of, this is what we're going to do. This is what we can do. We both want this. Then he was like, okay, I got a plan. We can make it a reality. Because he had no idea how he was going to make staying there a reality. He was just kind of like in limbo, floating around, trying to figure out what he was going to do. So.
And I think also, and this is, I'm sure other people have said things like this, but it is, Mars was starting to feel like the wild, wild west to me. I think certainly when we heard Sam talk to Miles about how unimportant she was, even though she was on the capture mission, even though she was on several different and chosen to do several different jobs, it was almost as if she wasn't as valuable a crew member as the other crew members, even though it's an equally dangerous job. She was out there risking her life doing these EVAs, and yet it was almost, you got the sense that, her value, or even, it was almost like they were invisible. And, it was very interesting. We saw where people were mourning the death of course, the Russian astronaut. Of course they were. But then, of course, there was this other gentleman who had died at the same time. And you didn't hear much about him. In fact, when Sam was talking about that to Miles, he was quite surprised to hear this. Do you think that going forth now with what's happened, there'll be more recognition, respect on both sides for one another? And do you think that after this fight that they've had, I think someone had said it's going to be the fight for independence for Mars. This history will tells us anything, and there'll be this fight for independence. Do you think people will acknowledge them as being an independent, I'm not going to say nation, but colony now, versus Happy Valley? Is it the Mars colony, Julian?
That's still kind of a question. Is Dev doing this to say, what? Dev controls Helios, supposedly, still, right? Now, is he using that to make this basically a Helios colony, and saying to the nations of Earth, the M7, it's like, if you want riches from this, rock, you deal with Helios. and through that, basically, the colony on Mars. So, I mean, we don't know exactly how he plans to do that. I mean, he's still got it. He's got this rock. He has something that the M7 nations want. How is he going to administer it? Is he administering it as a sovereign colony? Is he administering it as this belongs to Helios? And Helios controls Happy Valley for the most part because of all of our personnel here who are taking care of it. This is ours. And you work here at our, sufferance, basically. So be on your best behavior. I don't know if it's worth it. And again, we haven't answered the question of, is Helios the only way that people from Earth are getting to Mars? That's the impression I get, is that the Soviet Union and NASA kind of gave up making the ships to go there because Helios was offering to do it, right? They're like, we'll do it, and if nothing else, we've been watching that now as, we pay SpaceX to send our astronauts up to the ISS. So why would it be any different in this period where, it's cheaper for the nations concerned to pay a company to do it than to spend money and resources on making their own rockets and ships to go to Mars? So they're kind of in a rock in a hard place. Between a rock and a hard place. They really are. Literally now, if they want those resources, they're going to have to deal with Helios, which Dev controls essentially, and he controls Happy Valley.
Yeah, they really are. And I think what also is very interesting is that maybe Dev is looking at Mars differently than the way everybody else is. I think that he wouldn't be able to have that level of control on Earth, but with his ability to think ahead and also to think about people not willing to risk going out there in person, who none of those other guys want to go out there to Mars and live there. And I think he has his finger on the pulse of a lot of people who feel that this is their best shot at a new life. I can see Miles staying there. I don't think Miles is going to go home. I think Miles will stay on, and he's going to, invest more in Helios and maybe even bring his family there, although they may not like it. But I think that Miles can even see a little bit further past than what he thought he was going to get just this 2-year sign on. Do you think the rest of the crew are looking at that 2-year sign on, or let's say if they are doing it or are about to finish it, as that doesn't even matter anymore? Julian, does it matter to them anymore?
Again, we don't know how he set up things, whether it's Helios that's going to be in control or what. I do wonder about Miles's family, because the government knew, CIA dude knows all about it. They've got the goods on him. Are they going to try and use them as bargaining chips? Are they going to try and use all the family of Helios employees now up on the moon? What's going to happen? That's a tough thing. You either play hardball or you sit down and negotiate and deal. And again, if Helios controls the means of getting up into space and to another planet, then they have the run of the table. They control that.
Is the cooperation between the United States and Russia finished?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm sure they'll go back and forth trying to figure out whose fault this is, and say, "Oh, that didn't work." But if the economic impact could be such that it eventually brings about the downfall of the Soviet Union, much like eventually actually did under Gorbachev. And so it's a possibility that that could happen. It's also, we have to remember that the title of this episode is Perestroika, which is kind of symbolic of that rapprochement that was happening between the U.S., the West, and the Soviet Union at that period. We were trying to create something that was a much better, instead of being at odds with each other. And unfortunately, there's people now who think that being at odds with each other is much better than working together.
Julian, at the beginning of the episode, Ed was kind of trying to, let's say, still maintain working, and in a sense, he tried to justify his importance on the station, and he was having difficulty, with his shakiness and all this sort of stuff. But it doesn't feel like Ed isn't going to be a useful part of the Mars program anymore. It feels like he's an essential part of it after the role he played in this sort of, I captured the the asteroid battle. Do they know that what do you think they're thinking about Margot, knowing that she had some influence over their ability to complete the mission and be successful? I'm assuming everyone knows what Margot did. Um, what do you think they're thinking about Margot on Mars? And do you think Elite is going to be able to kind of write to Margot, figure out how things will work out for her? What do you think is going to happen? Has Margot's reputation gotten any better after what she's done?
We have no idea how much they know on Mars about what happened. All they're going to know is the news that comes to them. They didn't show us, really. I mean, they would know essentially that something happened. I mean, I guess they'd know that the news would have put out something about why Margot is now in U.S. custody and going into prison, right? That would have to make the news. But they didn't show us that. They didn't show a news flash of what was going on. The only paper article they showed us was, the whole thing about, there were, the Guantanamo Bay type of thing where detainees were roughed up. And, that's not looking good. So I don't know how much they're privy to what happened to save that mission. Although they know that they will know, because everybody in the Mars, mission control and on board Ranger knew that something had happened and the burn continued. And it didn't stop like they had planned. So will they be able to add that together and go, oh, it was Margot? And, will they try and use their power as a sovereign colony to free her, to get her immunity somehow? I don't know. That's an interesting thought. I mean, if they go another season, we can expect them to go another 10 years or so. So they put that at 2012. So, 2022 will be maybe a year or two more. We'll be all caught up.
And at the beginning of the season, we saw this altercation between this young Russian astronaut and one of her other coworkers. Essentially, she got into sort of this physical altercation. Unfortunately, she's back on Earth and things. I don't know what her outcome will be, but to be honest with you, Julian, this might have been one of the most violent seasons I've ever seen. I don't know. How many ways did we see people unfortunately not make it? There were accidents, of course, but we also saw people, get, unfortunately assassinated. There was a lot of things, a lot of violence. This was maybe the most violent season we've seen, but it was hard to tell that that's how the outcome was going to be when poor Satlana had, at the beginning, where her offense of pushing, assaulting her coworker seemed to be like such the worst thing that has ever happened there. Did you think things would get as bad as they did?
Um, Body count wise, unless you count the coup going on in the Soviet Union, I think it was actually pretty low body count wise this season from what we saw. But yeah, of course, with assassinations and such like going on, you know what they need to do is they need to get that black market pipeline working and get Svetlana out to Mars is what they need to do so she can hang with Ed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Certainly. And, I think that that is such an interesting part of all this because the escalation of emotions was incredibly high, I think, in this particular season. And I'm perfectly content to think of, after everything that's happened, after everything I've seen, I'm perfectly content to think of not just the astronauts, but also, let's say these other workers, the Helios employees, as being, kind of, the future of Mars. And I wasn't quite sure how I would feel about everyone after everything that's happened because of all the different transitions and points of view of what everyone thought should and shouldn't be done, and then Dev hopping on board and throwing in an additional, option for so many of them. But it doesn't feel necessarily as if they're not going to be able to work together after everything they've been through. Julian, are you surprised that we saw, for the most part at the end, what looked like a detente to all of this, and possibly everyone working together and wanting to be in the same place together?
I I think that's what we're heading for. But of course, there's naturally going to be parties that are going to, be more inclined to, be more nationalistic and be, it's like our side should be, in charge type of a thing. So.
Exactly. And I
Mhm.
don't I understand what you're saying. What do you think is gonna be, since you were talking about, and we did see this incredible influx of, as someone had said, there were probably refugees who have come to Mars. New York is having a big problem. Now, I don't really think it's a problem, but let's say New York City, the New York City officials are saying it's a big problem. Given the option to go to another planet, it does feel quite drastic. But I think, Julian, honestly, at this point, after this season, it doesn't feel as if space travel is something that A, isn't normal, and B, is unattainable. What do you think? Does it feel like what Dev says, that anyone, absolutely anyone, can have access to Mars now?
Well, yes, they. I mean, according to the show and what they've shown us, that's exactly what it is. They've been able to smuggle people up on ships and send them to another planet. So, and as far as we know, they all lived, right? So, I think what did they say with the engines that they're now using? Um, what did they say? It was like a 30-day trip or something like that. So it's
Yeah,
not.
and
Yeah,
it's a quicker trip, and they don't have to wait for a window anymore.
yeah. They can just go direct shot. So the fact that they can put some people in a container, make sure that it has enough consumables and stuff to keep them safe. That's yeah. Anybody can go to space now. The way that they're making it, I still think that they need to demonstrate that it's still dangerous out there. They shouldn't be taking it for granted. It's ridiculous. But certainly we're going to see, I think, if we get a fifth season, we're going to see a lot more people on Happy Valley. And
We
working
are.
the Mars, working the Mars mine, or the asteroid mines.
We certainly are. And did you ever think that we would see this gun again? And of course, Eric Lucina is talking about it. The Korean pistol discovered was literally Chekhov's gun. You show a gun in first act, it must go off by the third. Also, Chekhov from Star Wars is a meta reference as
Star
well. And
Trek.
of course, excuse me, sorry, Star Trek. And of course, we even heard a reference to Star Trek, where Danielle says, I absolutely am going to raise my grandchildren as Trekkies, which I think many of us, our first thoughts are, of course you are. But it felt so good to hear that. So you were not surprised to see this weapon in action in the season then?
No, of course not. As soon as we saw it pulled out of the ground, we knew it was going to be used. Again, like he said, it's Chekhov's gun. It has to be used. So it's just I couldn't tell who it was who found it, so I didn't realize he was a part of the security group. So that brought that in. Yeah, so it was like, yeah, it's going to be used. The only question then is it going to hit somebody, or is it going to hit something that can cause some sort of catastrophic issue with like a depressurization or something like that, or filling the hallway with noxious toxic fumes. Imagine how that would have been. That could have taken out a whole bunch of them.
It really could have. It did get out of hand. And of course, as I had told you before, I was very protective of Danielle, and I said nothing better happened to her. They better not harm her, and certainly she did get hurt, but of course she made it through. I think that was wonderful that she made it through. She seemed to be the, what do you call, the conscience on the station throughout this entire series. Was she sent there for that role, you think, in addition to straightening out everything that had gone wrong on the station?
I'm sorry, I was reading the comments. What was?
That's okay. I said, Danielle seemed to be the conscience of everyone while she was there. Was she sent there to be the conscience, in addition to straightening out everything on the station, as Eli so kindly asked her to do?
I would say she certainly helped bring that conscience about, but how she accomplished it certainly was not what Eli wanted.
And that was something that I absolutely was curious about. I know Eli has to go and speak to Al Gore. I think he's the president in this one.
Yes.
And certainly I know Al, who has given himself credit, at least they said, for finding the asteroid. It's like they had that little comedy sketch where he had said 10 things that Al Gore claimed to have discovered. The asteroid, is one of them. It was a lot of fun to hear him say that. And there was one guy in one of the episodes who'd said that he's so enamored with the asteroid that he's going to name it Tipper, which is his wife's name. And I did like the fun puns and things of that nature. But we also had Danielle very apprehensive of going up there because of what had happened with Danny Stevens. And they really did hold my breath to find out what happened to this character. And certainly, I think what's also interesting about his character is that I think they closed off this particular bit of the show perfectly. I think we have the perfect ending, even though it is very sad for this character. And it does make sense after everything that's happened. I think Danielle can kind of leave all of that, memory, because she doesn't want to stay on Mars, because she kept telling Ed, I have a home. We have a home on Earth. And Ed doesn't like that Danielle was so attached to Earth, but I think in the end, I think they had a mutual understanding. And I think Danielle was able to kind of let go of this guilt that she has holding on, feeling responsible for the death of Danny. Do you think she was able to let some of that guilt go?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
And so, one of the other interesting characters, Alita, I don't have a picture of her handy, but I will get one. Alita has gone through such a transformation here. She's, had this roller coaster of emotions because Margot was pretty much like, I'm going to say, like a surrogate mother to her. And when she found out that Margot was still alive, boy, I mean, you could just see the joy in her face. And even in this last episode, when she gave Margot a hug, it was pretty clear that she cares very deeply for Margot. And I think she's going to do anything she can to help her. But I also feared for Alita. You and I talked about this. We felt that she was in a lot of danger. It's obvious that Irina hit Sergei to hurt Margot, to try and put her in her place. But did this entire experience that Margot and Alita went through, has it made them closer?
Well, yeah, definitely. But I think Irina took out Sergei because he was dangerous. He was bad influence, and she couldn't risk his influence on Margot. So, A, it's like you defected, so that's mark one against him, and two, you're trying to get my other important person to defect, so I have to take you out. So, I don't think it was because she was trying to punish Margot so much, maybe, but of course it was interesting. It was the same kind of, since she was his handler, she would have been the one who called the shots to strangle him with the bag in front of her face in the hotel room. That makes sense. She's the one who made that call. So it's like, here she is. She's like, well, okay, I'm going to take him out anyway. So, did Margot make the right choice? Maybe she should have just said, no, I'm out at that point, but she couldn't because her conscience was too much on her. But as for her and Alita, the whole the whole situation that arose because of her, you know, Alita thinking Margot did this, why she did it. She gave over secrets and all this, and then had me thinking that you were dead. All of this has actually brought them closer together, I think, because they were still kind of, even when they were working together before everything went bad, before the explosion. There was a standoffishness because I think Alita was still kind of the way things had gone before between them when she was growing up, you know, had kind of fractured things between them. So even though she was working at NASA, she was still kind of messing up sometimes and not sure how to handle the situation. So I think this kind of crucible kind of brought them together in a way that never would have if it hadn't happened.
Yeah, and this is very true about Alita being a reluctant um, mother figure for Margot being a reluctant mother figure for Alita, and we did see that type of behavior. And certainly, when Alita has to be the one to tell Margot about Sergei, that also was something that was quite shocking. I mean, for so many of their most dramatic moments seem to happen in that room. And, that part where Margot kind of, I'm not going to say loses it, but is very upset with Irina, which I'm sure she's very upset with her all the time, but she really was angry with her. I was wondering how that was going to be because it doesn't make sense that Margot would just be, very quiet and not say anything. She was in love with Sergei and Sergei was in love with her. I kind of would have liked to have seen them maybe make it have a go in Brazil. Was that ever going to work, Julian?
Uh, no, I don't think so. There was just had they gone for Brazil, had they made it to Brazil, they would have been targets anyway. Margot would have been a target, and Sergey still would have been a target. You know, Irina would have been gunning for him. I don't think they would have survived. The KGB is pretty good at getting people that they plan to get.
And I also think that Alita, although this may not be true, I also think that Alita was thinking and hoping that Margot would stick around, deep down inside. And so Alita's mind is, well, once it's over, Margot's out of here, and then I guess I won't see her again, like in years and years and years. But in reality, I think Alita was praying and hoping and wishing there was some way Margot could stay. So that withdrawal of the immunity was like a godsend. Alita knows that she can write to her or visit her in the pen or whatever. However this works out, she may not end up in prison the way that happens. We just don't know what's going to happen with her. Goodness knows. I don't think yeah, Eric says, I hope in season 5, Alita has become a power in her own right. She hasn't been able to step up and become independent. We see so many times where everyone's saying that Alita should be a commander, and but it seems, honestly, I feel like she's coming to her own working for Helios, and she is a force to be reckoned with. And I'm very proud of Alita and how she's grown, considering how much she's had to go through. But will there be a different experience for her now that Dev is permanently on Mars? Alita's still with Helios, and Dev, who's playing 3D chess or whatever you want to call it, he's about 500 steps ahead of everybody else. I think every time Dev did something, and I would always say, although it's not really true, it felt like Danielle would know how to respond and act regardless of what, let's say move Dev made. Was Dev 100 steps ahead of everybody here? He was going to make this work no matter what. Is he the genius? Is he like the GOAT?
No. I mean, yes and no. He almost lost that. The only, if they hadn't been able to get in touch with Samantha, then it doesn't happen. The only because their action trying to override the engines is the only thing that prompted NASA to have to come up with a code that would try and totally shut the engines off no matter what. If they hadn't got Samantha out there trying to, override the engines, then there wouldn't have been a need for Margot and Alita to send that, to be able to insert that. So he didn't think that far ahead. It was the team, with Ed realizing that there was a way that they could contact her through the Koreans. That's the only reason that this worked. So he didn't see that far ahead. He thought his plan was going to work because he misjudged and underestimated the people he was dealing with. He did not think that the Soviet Union and America were going to be as rough, finding Miles and beating the crap out of him. With Alita, as if she stays with Helios, and if Helios is Dev's route to controlling access to Mars, then yes, she's going to make some bank off of that. She's going to become a very important person because she was kind of the de facto number 2 by the time he left for Mars. He left her in charge with the negotiating and being in charge of all that kind of stuff. People were coming to her to solve issues. She's kind of in charge of Helios on Earth. And so, yeah, I can see her being in a position of power. Now, uh, Eli could find himself out of work, and they might need a new administrator for NASA. And it's possible that Alita could work herself back into working at NASA.
But has she surpassed NASA?
Well, depends on what kind of deal they decide to come up with. It's like, would it be better for her to stay with Helios, or is does she? I think she's more hands-on involved with being at NASA than she would be at Helios, because she's more of an administrator at Helios than an actual hands-on engineer doing, making the designs and the ideas to get things to happen in space. So I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question, and hopefully the writers are kind of coming up with an idea for that.
Well, I think I'm praying that we definitely get a season 5, Julian, because this has been one of the most enjoyable reviews I've ever had of a television series. It's just been so phenomenal, and the performances are great, and the tech, the tech isn't real, but let's say the hypothetical tech that we've seen in these shows has been great. I wouldn't mind looking at habs that look like that, or ships that look like that. Everything looks so cool. Even as I said, those dog robots um, that are there, which we know are going down into that methane crater and finding that life that Kelly hopes to find. That, I think, it would be a great breakthrough for the next discovery, to be life that would be transformative for everyone in a way that we cannot imagine. I think that would be a lovely discovery, but let's see what these writers want to do. And of course, I'm going to wrap up this live watch party and review of episode 10, the finale of For All Mankind, which has been so incredible, Julian. It's been so great doing this review with you, Julian.
I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for joining me. Any last words about anything pertaining to For All Mankind, either whatever you want to talk about before we end the show?
No, I think they left us in a really good spot. Actually, the way that they structured this, they could end the series with the way that they ended the show. I hope they don't, but that was they didn't leave us with a cliffhanger. They didn't like Darth Plato says, no main character died. So they really kind of tied it up nice and neat and set it up for something new if we get a fifth season. So here's hoping that we get that, because
I
I
think
think it's been a very good series.
I agree, Julian, and I think we're going to see more Mars babies. We're going to see all that good stuff, all that family stuff on Mars, true Martians being born perhaps on Mars this time. A completely new way of looking at Mars, and of the Goldilocks asteroid, looking at that as something that's going to be part of everyday life. Maybe all those guys who are unfortunately out of positions will come to Mars and find their positions there, and that will be what will transform their lives and improve things. So let's see what happens in the future. I just have so much positive goodwill feeling about all of this, Julian. So it's just so wonderful to have a show. First of all, I'm glad they didn't leave us with a cliffhanger, which is what a lot of people had speculated. But I just love the positive, good vibes I feel for this show, which has been so enjoyable to watch. One of the best shows on television, I think, out there, for those of you who have been continually visiting us for these reviews of For All Mankind, seasons 1, 2, and 3 review, as well as season 4, episodes 1 through 10. Thank you so much. I want to thank my moderator, collaborator, and good friend, Tom Jr. Jackson, for always supporting me.
Thank you,
Um,
Tom.
we are all good people. Tom has his own channel, so make sure you guys do subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's channel, as well as Positive Fandom and the Burnettwork and my new channel, Roman Empire Matters. So thanks everybody for all the support. It's been so great to see you all here. Want to thank everybody for being here. It has been fun, hasn't it?
Thanks,
Yeah,
Bruce.
this is a good question. We don't know who's going to be in charge of that station. It's a good question. Joel says this is absolutely one of the best shows of all time. It better get more seasons. The triumphs and the tragedies they feel quite real and relatable. Joel says he thinks that Ed might be the new CEO. Let's see what happens, Joel. Certainly. But I want to thank everybody who stopped by here tonight for watching, for supporting the channels. Guys, there's so much more to come. There's so much more to talk about when it comes to shows here on Positive Fandom and the Burnettwork. So please come back. We enjoy seeing you all here and talk about all your concerns. Please do have a wonderful night, everybody. So good to see you all here. And guys, remember, no matter where you are out there, always remember to please be kind. Take care, everyone.
Cheers.